I welcome the opportunity to speak on this very important matter here this afternoon. I want to take Dulces to acknowledge at the outset the genuine attempts being made and that have been made by Minister of State Deputy Daly. We now have a newly designated jigsaw service going to be provided in Thurles, which I warmly welcome. I'm worried about the timelines because we need, to see it set up, and it's 5 years too late. That being said, I have expressed concerns, and the Minister will know that they are shared by Father Michael Toomey in Clonmel, who he has met and who you Minister have great respect for. And he's doing some tremendous work. And he was on radio the morning after your visit on Tuesday morning with Joe Leahy, and indeed with there was a third on, and under the three of them, in fairness, and they're all at the cold face, at a very cold face. While they welcome Jigsaw, they want to see it rolled out in the other towns like Clonmel, like Carrick-on-Shore, villages like Kilsheelan, and indeed out into Ballyporeen, right up into Tipperary Town and West Tip. West Tip is in a bad state for mental health services, right up into North Tip. So it's a big, long county. It's difficult, Minister, but they need it. And Father Michael Toomey, he officiated at a mass this time last week, actually was my closest, nearest neighbour, who ended his own life, suffered for 40 years, Paul Ryan, with mental health issues. And he was a tutor in Clown, which is a voluntary organisation for people with certain disabilities, and a wonderful, skilled craftsman, a potter. And to see the work that he had done, his last pottery, and in the midst of his mental illness, and to see the profound sense of shock and sadness in the church that afternoon with all the service users of Clown, all his colleagues in the AA. Men thought he wasn't going to have a few at his funeral. He had a request that he asked the few that will be there back to the pub. The pub couldn't hold him. The biggest church in Clonmel couldn't hold the crowds. So it's such an impact. Wonderful man, gone too early from his wonderful wife and indeed 2 daughters. It's so sad. But it's an epidemic. And what he has gone through when he was the closest neighbours, I said, never got a nicer neighbour in our life. And a lovely, wonderful, helpful man. He helped so many people. And he came back in spateful, but he thought he was in such a dark place that nobody had any interest in him, but thousands had. And it's so sad. But with interventions and with people like Jigsaw and your Seesaw now as well, Seesaw and Clonmel, sorry, a wonderful group as well. They have a quiz tonight in the Hillview, and Joe Walsh there, or Joe Leahy, former councillor, and indeed May Walsh, who works in my office, and many volunteers. Out fundraising every night to do these services, and they have drop-in services, and they have confidential lines and help. The people out there want to do it. You heard about a service in Nina, which I'm ashamed to say that I haven't seen yet, but I must visit like yourself. Again, volunteers, from bottoms up. And Catherine Connolly, Dr. Connolly said, what happened to Vision for Change? We had the vision. We got the change, and we closed all our beds. But we got none of the state-of-the-art services that were promised. We were, as I said to you at the meeting, we weren't badly burned in Tipperary. We were scalded. We lost St. Michael. You've admitted it was wrong to take it away from us. We haven't one long-stay bed. The crisis houses, are struggling to get 2 extra beds there. And when are we going to see, the HSE have accepted now, as well as yourself, that there's a deficit of at least 20 beds. We need 10 of those in South Tip and 10 in North Tip. North Tip patients have to go to Ennis. I won't even go into Kilkenny, what happened there, and sit down there, and I wanted to. And above all, I can't understand for the life of me, with a new 40-bed modular about to open in Clonmel, St. Joseph's, or South Tipperary General, why we can't have a room there that people don't have to sit through the trauma and the disturbance of a mad A&E. I would say mad in the wrong way, but just overpacked, crazy staff under pressure. And Father Michael Toomey told us eloquently last week about visiting there and waiting with the patient, helping. And I salute him, and the other clergy people as well, of all denominations, and waiting, and in no place, no bed, and a trolley. It's just that it's not acceptable that these people have to be put through that. They're suffering. As I said, Minister, I expressed the concerns, and there are very many people who have worked tirelessly and collaboratively over the last 7 years, indeed, to ensure the way Jigsaw. I know you were pains to point that out. Some politicians couldn't wait; they wanted to get it announced first. But look, it's not about announcements. It's about the duty we have of care to our fellow human beings. As I said, that's a positive outcome. I also want to say, and I want to acknowledge the concerns that are emerging, however, in terms of accessibility of the service of Jigsaw. because the county is too big, we have very poor access. We have good access from Dublin to Thurles, but very little from around the county. So a lot of work has been done there. There's no transport. That is why it is absolutely vital that the outreach hubs are developed and in parallel, in tandem with the development of the main unit. It has to happen. We know the jigsaw caters specifically for young people between the age of 12 and 25 who are experiencing difficulties with mental health. These are the groups who are being particularly affected by the scourge of the rampant drug use and misuse in our county, and it's vital that they have accessible services. And we have to tackle it as well. I know you agree with me, this Minister. The social drug taking and the cocaine, and people of our own equals, and not saying only, but I'm saying people we wouldn't associate with, and have this recreation at the weekend. It's hugely common now, frightening, shocking, and that has to be tackled. Because we know the scourge, we know the violence, we know the abuse that goes on with drug cartels and gangs. So it's not all right to be taking cocaine or whatever way they take it, and then to be supporting those mobsters and gangsters who should be taken off our streets. The terror that they reign, and are reigning in Clonmel as well, and in the villages in my own county. This is why I hope that jigsaw service can be expanded, as I said, throughout all the towns and villages. From north to south, we need them. A mobile service or whatever. I don't know how you would do it, but we just can't have that big distance because people won't travel that distance they can travel. In February this year, we had the publication of the report on St Luke's psychiatric facility in Kilkenny, which revealed a litany of appalling hygiene services and provision of facilities. I don't want to even repeat them here. They were fined, the HSE brought to court, they admitted liability. But that's like rubbing butter to a fat cow, you know what. Fined to the HSE, so who's paying it? The taxpayers. I mean, it means nothing. Can anybody be held accountable in the HSE? And I said it the other day to you, Minister, in the building that we had a meeting. Oh, former St Luke's Hospital. My wife was a nurse there. I used to be in there visiting. I went in there, was chair of the council, went into Christmas parties. It's all closed now. There were a couple of hundred patients there. St Michael's in over the other side of the main hospital was the short-term and kind of long stay, if you like, you know what I mean, the places where people had to go. And people with those issues, sadly, will need places from time to time in their lives and ongoing treatment. And now we have all of St Luke's. It's now offices, offices and offices and more offices. We had to run the health services when we didn't have those offices. They were patient. This was a hospital. We go up the road to to Our Ladies in Cashel. Spent 22 million after closing it down. And what's in it? Not a bed. Oh, not a bed. Not a bed. It's a patient-free zone. Offices, 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 offices. Again, that was a functioning hospital. I had my appendix taken out there. I was in there a few times when I was young, and they took out the lift out of it even to make sure that no one would go in the patient to go up to the upstairs part of it. It's desecration. It's vandalism, and it's carried on by the HSE. So we had that big hospital, we had 300 patients in St Luke's and 40 beds or something in St Michael's, and we had Our Ladies. That's probably 700 patients. And we didn't have all these offices and management to run those hospitals. But we had the matrons. And my God, should we bring him back and just clean the hospitals? That's one thing. They wouldn't have a report like came out from St Luke's when the matrons were in charge. And we can do that in here every day. We can attack the clergy and attack the Vatican. And who else can we attack? Day in, day out. And the people that gave us our education, that gave us our health services, that were the visionaries that went all over the world and looked after people, set up field hospitals and done wonderful work. And we want every day, in the midst of our housing crisis, in the midst of our mental health epidemic, we attack the people, the institutions that served us all so well. But look, thank God, people might realise sooner than later the folly of their ways. But getting back to the services, I'm just making the contrast to you, Minister. And Minister Harris came down and saw that in Cashel. And to see offices, plush offices, I might add, colour-coded carpet, finest of paintings on the walls. And we're having a bed for a patient who's suffering a psychotic attack tonight. They must be left sit on a chair. And we were told, you told us that you can't have trolleys and what happened in Waterford recently. But no, Minister, we've all these offices now and all these officials and everything else, and we've no services. That's something rotten in the system. When those were functioning hospitals, we had nurses and we had doctors and very good people, and we had attendants and we had everybody else. And now we have, what do I call them, legions of staff. I want to call them battalions because they don't go to battle, but legions of them. And what are they doing? Pushing paper to here, to there, to whatever, and push it back again and around again. That's what's wrong, Minister. Nothing else wrong. The money is going into, you've talked about the money going from 700 million to $1 billion, but it's been gobbled up by administration. And it's sad. And a lot of them have, and a lot of very good people, but a lot of the chiefs are self-serving and themselves, and they can't see what's going on the ground. There's nothing so blind as those that want to see it all. It's so sad. And with the likes of Father Michael Toomey and the other priests and the Seesaw and Clonmel and the volunteers, that I have to mention them there as well, the River Shore Watch, Taxi Watch. I was late in Clonmel last Friday night, 3:20. Met 3 women going off, walking the quays, ensuring to keep people out of the river. It's so sad. So sad. I mean, and they have to do it. And yet we've all this administration using all this money and no services. Minister, it's just, I know you're doing your best and you're retiring from politics, but the system is badly broken. We got this vision for change was going to be the Bible according to John Maloney at the time, the 2 Bibles according to the Minister of State, Kathleen Lynch, and it all collapsed, closed the book and left it there. Took away all the services, took away all the hospitals, closed them. These the Kinsey in place, you told us that they were no, opened up the doors, let them all out to patients. To hell out of Connacht, really. And then we put in no services. Absolutely zilch in Tipperary. Zilch. I salute the front line, salute the P&A, the nurses, and the groups that are there, the community care. But look, something very badly wrong, and someone needs to fix it. Thank you.